Hello, Wellness Check Wednesdays community. We wanted to take a moment to remind you that while our podcast serves as a safe space for open discussions and sharing experiences, we are not mental health experts. This podcast is a platform for you to express your thoughts, feelings, and experiences in a judgment-free zone. Our aim is to foster connection, provide support, and create a sense of community. It's crucial to acknowledge that we are not a substitute for professional mental health advice or treatment. If you or someone you know is dealing with mental health challenges, we strongly encourage seeking guidance from qualified professionals. Remember, reaching out to mental health experts can make a significant difference. If you ever feel the need, don't hesitate to connect with a licensed therapist, counselor, or healthcare professional.
This is the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast, a share space, a judgment-free zone, a place to meet and discuss our mental health. So let's check in.
Well. It is another Wednesday, and we all know what that means. It's another chance for everyone. This is the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. We ask for each and everyone that wants to listen in, join in. And at the end of the day, we just ask you all to
let's check in.
You should be familiar with my voice at this point in time. My name is Brian Livingston. I am the moderator of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. I come to you by way of the Share Studios here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I would like to take the time to introduce to the people, the originators of the Wellness Check Wednesday podcast by way of Cleveland, Ohio. We have Edwin Vereen joining us on the show this week. Yes, sir.
Busy. That's the word of today. Somebody said, Ed, what's the good word? Busy. With a small side of tired, but it's all good. I'm living, I'm breathing, I'm on this side of the dirt as opposed to the cold side of the dirt. So I can't complain. All is well and I'm doing fine.
Glad to have you, Edwin, very much so. And thank you for this platform that you and our other originator have come up with. And my other originator, once again, by way of the Share Studios here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, our very own Kevin Marshall.
Living life, taking one step at a time and just, taking the hits as they come. What's up, everybody?
Very glad to have you. Also, by way of Oklahoma, we have our main man, Brad. How are you doing today, Brad?
I'm good today. Just real busy. It's Wednesday. We all know what that means. And just ready to get through the rest of this week.
Absolutely. Cue that camel hump day.
Yeah.
Geico, don't come at me. I'm just saying I ain't got it. I don't have it. Also, by way of Texas, we have a friend of the show. Very nice to have you. Kenneth, how are we doing today?
I'm well. I'm also on the right side of the dirt for today, and I'm always happy about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very, very much so. We are thankful for each one of you joining the platform, joining the show on this week. And we have a particularly important topic that we want to talk about this week. And I know we have, oh man, there's never enough time, but this is very, very important, especially important to me. And it actually deals with what we have right here, right now. And we're going to talk about the importance of a support team, support system when it comes to mental health. And this could be, this could be enlightening. This could also be also on the side of a little bit troubling, because some people may or may not have that access to that support team, that support system. So we don't necessarily want to say you have to have one, but we want to just talk about how important it is. when it comes to our mental health, because for one, I think it's important to me because dealing with this thing called life and trying to deal with it by yourself can be especially tough. And one thing that we also consider very important is that this podcast within itself, we are not experts. We are just run-of-the-mill people that are just trying to get to day to day, week to week, month to month, and just trying to really improve our mental health. And so while we can be part of your support system, we always encourage everyone to seek professional help whenever it comes to your mental health. So I want to make that point very clear that while we can be part of it, we always ask, especially seek professional help whenever it comes to matters of your mental health. At this moment in time, I want to give the floor to Edwin as he opines a little bit further on the importance of a support system and support team. Edwin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. As you know, that I cycle time from time to coming up with topics to talk about, relevant topics and everything that goes well with us. And so a support system, your friend, that could be your friends, your family, or whoever you choose it to be, because it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like your normal support system. It got to be my family, because sometimes your friends support you more than your family. Crazy to say, but that's how it is sometimes. So let me go ahead and get right into it and not lollygag, gallylag, and waste any more time. All right, so the definition according to Merriam-Webster, it says a support system is a noun, a network of people who provide someone with practical or emotional support. All right, which is pretty accurate because that's what it does, support system, and they support you to the best of your ability in any way that they know how to. So let me find this article real quick. I found it was by Dr. Deborah O'Shea. She's a licensed psychologist, and it says, and it's about, she's an anxiety specialist, and she has a blog that says Dr. Deb's Emotional Wellness Blog. So she goes in to say at times we may feel that we need to do things on our own without anyone else's help. Sometimes this can be cathartic. Other times it can leave you with a feeling of loneliness and a mild feeling of despair. It's important for everyone to understand that we are not islands, and it is healthy to reach out to our support system. We have support in friends, family, and colleagues. It may be difficult at times to lean on this support system due to issues that may come up in your previous or current relationships. However, it is important to nurture and grow our support system. So I'm going to fast forward and go down the link a little bit, which will be available in the description box for this episode. And it says, here are 5 advantages of having a strong support system. This is what happens when you have a strong support system. Number 1, a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging is important throughout our lives. It starts with our family or origin and our friend groups as we grow from children to adolescents to adults. We need to thrive, not just survive. With a good support system in place, we can flourish and reach our potential in whatever we are striving for. It reduces, number 2, reduces stress. A strong support system aids in stress reduction. Venting and spending time with loved ones can help reduce our anxiety and increase our mood. Call a friend or a family member to go for a walk, hike, yoga class, if I could talk today, when you need to reduce stress. Having a strong support system can assist us in decompressing after a stressful day. Number 3, improve overall health and well-being. A good support system helps with our overall physical health throughout our lives, and especially as we age. Feeling as though we are not alone helps with physical health as well as emotional well-being, because there are some times where I feel like I'm alone, but I tell myself, this because you feel like you're alone, you're not alone. You may live alone, yes, but you're not alone. Emotional support, number 4. An emotional support system is very important as emotional health and well-being can increase overall physical health. A strong support system is pertinent to good emotional health as it gives us a community of support during these trying times. And number 5, improve self-esteem. When we have people we can rely on and who can rely on us for support, we feel better about ourselves. It is always good to feel as though we have some people rooting for us on the sidelines as well as rooting for those in our support system. So that's Dr. Deborah O'Shea that reminds us that we are not an island, and that comes from her emotional wellness blog as far as a support system goes. And so now I use this time to opine on a personal story about support system. As Brian B. Laugh can tell you, I moved several times, in the last handful of years, and the support system was different. Brian can also tell you that there was one particular friend that felt some kind of way because I left him out. And I promised that it wasn't personal. Sometimes, when you're moving around real fast, you can't get to everybody like you want to. But all in all, whether I moved to New Hampshire, over time, I developed a good support system. When I moved back home to South Carolina to take care of my mom, I already had a support system in place, so I had nothing to worry about. Moving to Atlanta, I had, some friends and some family, and I got a new support system. And then moving to Ohio, I have a support system now. And so the thing about a support system is a support system gets you together. They make sure you're good. They try their best to get you out of your funk. They administer tough love. And the thing about tough love is sometimes it's tough to take. But when you know the person, their intent, and it's coming from a good place, it makes it makes those interactions a little bit more tolerable, something you can deal with. So that way you won't feel like it's a personal attack. Because I'm like, oh, they talk to me as something was a personal attack. No, this person loves and cares about you, and they just want to see you be better. And I just think like support system and support teams it's important. And people just kind of walk around here like, I don't have this and I don't have that and I can't talk to nobody. And it's just, and a lot of times I'll say this, like most men that I've seen and that I know, I don't talk to nobody about my problems. I keep it all in. And the next thing you know, you wind up doing something silly, and you wind up doing something silly to yourself or doing something to somebody and wind up going to jail, all because what happened in the past, you bring into the future, and you won't redevelop and recultivate your support system. So I look at it like this. When it comes to letting people in your circle, make sure their intentions are good. Make sure they are 100% pure. Make sure they're good people. And then number 2, don't let everybody in your support system or your support circle or your inner circle, because they might not have good intentions. It might require a vetting process. You might be able to tell this person something and it be good, but if you tell that person something, it's not going to be good. So you have to be monitored. You have to monitor of who you have your circle, who you talk to people with certain things about, and be there for your support system as they are there for you. Kevin, what say you about a support system and a support team, and how does it benefit you?
It's one of those things that when you become down and out on your luck, like it comes into a point of like, who can you turn to? And even dealing with military wise, and most of my friends are in military, active duty, or retired, that, I hear there's stories that you walk into an ambush or you walk into something of the unknown. It's like, do you have my six regardless? Like, still to this day, me and my little brother graduated out of high school in 2010, that he's one of the only few that I know if I called him in dire need, and he's part of my support system, to where if I called him in dire need, I knew he would make a way to get down here to help. He would be here. And like you said, it's one of those things that make sure intentions are pure, but make sure intentions are willing to build you. And that's what a lot of people miss, at that your intentions could be pure, but as you said in past podcasts, Ed, it goes into one of those things that they could be good, but it goes into that finger pointing and that criticism lecture of wanting to be good. But at the end of the day, I've come to learn that it's one of those things that can this help me build myself? Can this help me be better than what I was yesterday? Can this help me be better for a bright future?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Kev, I definitely thank you for that, because those questions come up, and in the world that we live in, it's tough because we all have our own lives to live. And sometimes it's tough where having that person in your corner, like, hey, is there somebody I can actually call on that can sort of be there, be that beacon, be that help in certain times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope I'm not putting Kenneth, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. If I'm not mistaken, Chris was on the show, and Chris is you mentioned earlier, Chris is your son. He mentioned about your job, your position, what you do, and it has to do with helping veterans, correct? And so could you take the moment of time and explain just a little bit about what you do and how you provide assistance to veterans? Because I think your job is a support system within itself. So the floor is yours, Kenneth, if you don't mind, sir.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me thank you for the insight you guys have given so far. I cover 27 regional counties in Texas, very remote counties where many of the veterans don't have the opportunity to seek out any sort of tangible support system. To give you an example of how big my area is, I could, Kevin, I could drive to you and quicker than I could drive to my furthest county and back. So when we're on the phone, I work with a different levels of grants, those that cover homelessness. Let me give you a little bit of background about myself. So I was regular Army. I was started out as a 71 Lima, a clerk typist airborne. They sent me to a special forces unit. The people there decided I should go to special forces school. I retrained, became a combat medic, went to special forces school and got busted up pretty bad and ended up out of the military. As you know, Christopher's also a paratrooper, so we share that in common. But when we look at these, especially rural veterans, you have to, and not to opine for too long, but we, as veterans, we sometimes have a little bit of trouble delineating between a personal support system and a professional support system. And the personal support system is extraordinarily important. In the rural, we see that void filled by animals. So a guy is with his dog or whatever, his cat, and I'll say, look, I can put you in a hotel because he's been struggling with homelessness post-service. And he'll tell me, if my dog can't go, I won't go. And the reason for that is his support system. But when we get to that point where we struggle with homelessness, and I think over the last 24 months, I worked with 918 individual households that struggled from homelessness. Now I run this program by myself, and I want it that way because I want to talk to every guy who calls in.
Mm-hmm.
But many of these gentlemen, and Edwin, I think you touched on it earlier in a way, they have worn out their personal support system, not on purpose, not knowingly, but by not being able to recognize, yeah, this person's being rough with me, but they're only talking to me because they care about me. Am I wrong about that?
That's true, because we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you because I like what you're discussing, because the veterans, our vets need help. They really need it. As for me, like, I know I like to be talked to a certain way, and then sometimes when I felt like that certain way that I like to be talked to, it's not being met. Now I understand, at 41 years old, I'm not going to get everything I want, but we all know that in order for us to be receptive, we have to be talked to a certain way. If like, say, Kenneth, if I want to convey a message to you, I know I have to talk to you in this tone, so that way you can pick up everything, ask questions, we can go from there. But if I'm doing this right here, finger wagging and not really letting the conversation breathe, it's just kind of like, well, you won't become less receptive. You become less receptive to it. And then something I'll do is, which I'm guilty of, I'll go find somebody else that'll talk to me the way I want to be talked to. But I have to tell myself, look, you know where it comes from, so don't take it personal.
I agree. And everybody has that tendency to reflect what they're getting. So, in an unfortunate event, I've been in jail a few times.
Oh,
and in jail, about respect, they say you got to give it to get it, right? And so it's sometimes hard to find that person that can reflect what you're trying to say to them. Does that make sense? And so what I see, especially amongst those, we see these guys who've done lots of tours, they have aches and pains, they've been medicated till they get back to the United States. Boom, no more pain medication, and they self-medicate. They wear out their social networks and don't have a way to rebuild those networks. But what I might say to that is, don't we also need to be the network? So I was in the VA the other day, and I went down for my yearly, you go see your PCP, and there's a guy there who has clearly got a neurological issue and cannot dial a phone. So he's trying to get his pickup, and he goes at this trying to dial the phone and begging basically the person on the other end for a good 5 minutes. And I'm kind of looking around, and finally I just got up and said, look, man, just let me take care of your phone for you. Let me dial your phone. But there had to be 20 guys in there and the people working behind the counter. So are we missing opportunities, even incidental opportunities, maybe not long-term opportunities, to be a support system for one of our brothers or sisters who is struggling? You don't got to be there forever, but it doesn't hurt to be there today, right? And then as far as you've got this personal support network that once you get it, you can advance in life. You can move forward. You can get off the streets when you find someone who can communicate with you like you talked about, Edward. Now, rarely a week goes by that someone doesn't threaten me, one of my veterans doesn't threaten me or get upset with me or, maybe even want to kill me, right? I just hear them out. Was talking to a veteran living in her car north, and she's been there for a while, and I can't get her out of the car. And I said, are you thinking about hurting yourself? And she said, that's my backup plan.
Ooh.
So I'm not, as you mentioned earlier, I'm not a professional. I'm not a guy who should be talking to someone who might want to hurt themselves, but I am a guy who knows how to dial the phone. And so I got her to someone who can help her out, right? So I think sometimes as veterans that we are our own worst enemies in that area. I know that I am. There was a Facebook video that went around for a while. A young lady said, guys, who do you call when you're down? And you had like 30 guys who were like, no one. I'm a guy. No one. I don't call anyone. I'm a guy. But those are skills that are hard to teach when you're already beat down to your knees, right? You want to be communicated in a respectful manner. And I work with the general homeless population also. But soldiers are used to respect and honesty and forthrightness. So when someone tells them they're going to do something, they expect that it will be done. And I think that the hurt for veterans is deeper when someone lets you down, because we do meet people like we've never met before. And all of a sudden, like me, I was in Honduras. You're in Honduras and there's a guy there that you don't really know all that well, but he's got your life in his hands. And so you expect him to do right? And I think that's where I stand on that. So there are other things that we can do to support people's network, but ultimately kindness is the way to go. Now, the people that I see that are really damaged, like really have problems, they want to take on that load of a social network, right? And I'm not sure which one of you mentioned it earlier, vetting these people out, right? About, yeah, this is a not okay. So Edwin, you mentioned that earlier. Well, maybe I have a guy with PTSD and he wants to help me because he knows what it's like to be in pain. But he doesn't have the coins in the piggy bank, guys. He doesn't have the ability to do that. So we can make people worse too, right? My grandmother used to say that you can't build a house with just a hammer. And some of these gentlemen that have been out there, especially on the streets for a while, they're working with just a hammer, you know? So we need to be responsible for ourselves too.
Yeah.
Those are very, very powerful words. And man, yeah, one thing that I took in more than anything is that kindness. Sometimes we get too wrapped up into our own selves that we don't help the person next to us, that we don't see somebody that is, and that needs that little bit of extra, that little bit of just TLC it sometimes, hearing that conversation, somebody just wants to talk. And so, man, that's one thing I definitely took away. Brad, was there anything that you wanted to add to our conversation today?
Just having a really strong support system does help in the long run. As Eddie mentioned that he's moved around quite a bit. I started moving around like later on in life, and you really start to find out who your friends are when it comes time for you to move somewhere. You kind of see like, okay, this is my support system here. If I'm moving to somewhere else, whether if you don't know anybody, hope that your current support system still helps out. In some cases they do, sometimes they don't. And when you move to that new place, you might find some new people that might be either equal or possibly even better in your support system. I definitely advocate for that. And yeah, that's really all I have for today.
And definitely I haven't moved that much. But I understand moving from place to another place, your support system does change. One thing that I'm extremely thankful for is that a couple people that are in my support system have been from A1 since day one. Edwin, especially being one of them. We've been best friends for over 25 years now, and there's been times where we've been far apart, but we find a way somehow, some way, just to continue to stay in contact. The biggest thing, a couple big things that just takeaways for those that are listening and for those that are here with us that I say is, hey, be that support.
Well,
Be that listening ear from time. Sometimes we can't take on the world. And Ken,
right.
I'm very, very thankful for that. We
Yes.
can't take on the world, but every now and again, let's make that one step, just to be just that listening ear. So I thank you, Kenneth, very much for what you've added to that, and what you do is so very important. I applaud you and I commend you for being that support system, being there for those that some of them that really don't have any other place to turn. And so that just the importance of that is astronomical. And so like we encourage everyone, if anything, if nothing else, hey, listening to what we do here, send us a message on our Facebook page. If you're going through something, you just need somebody, just a listening ear. We will try to be there as best as we can. All right. We are coming up on that moment of time where Zoom likes to say, hey, you've been on this thing a long time. I'm going to include that email, Kenneth, that you just provided for us. K Loy at ccsct.org. K as in kilo, L as in Lima, O as in Oscar, Y as in Yankee at ccsct.org. And this is another episode of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast, another enlightening, just riveting episode. I've learned a lot. I hope each and every one of you has learned a lot. We always encourage each and every one of you every single Wednesday and any day for that matter to always let's
check.
Yeah. See,
Kenneth, thanks for joining us, Kenneth. We appreciate it, Kenneth. We really do.
Sir.
Thank you
Well,
all.
guys, tell Chris I love him. Have a good day.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. Please join us every week, Wednesdays on Zoom at 6 p.m., and join our Facebook group for updates and to participate. We care about your mental health, so let's check in.